Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of the build series. If you watched episode 2, you knew this video was coming, because today we're working on the suspension. The suspension build spanned multiple weekends, so we didn't record as much as we should have with the front, so that piece is a little fragmented. However, we did record quite a bit for the rear, so you'll still see a good chunk of the work that we put in. This here is both sides of the old front suspension, which we showed way back in the beginning of the build series. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of us removing it, but I can tell you that it came off surprisingly easy. With all that bulk out of the way, we moved on to the sway bar end links in the front. These were a tad annoying to remove since you needed a hex key to hold the stud from spinning, but a wrench made quick work of this. It was just unfortunate that we didn't have a ratcheting wrench to really speed things along, but hey, you work with what you got. Once we got the end links out, we removed the sway bar bushings. As you can see in this clip, these things were absolutely cooked. They were dry rotted, heavily cracked, and definitely overdue for replacement. That basically wrapped up everything we needed to remove before installing the new parts in the front. If you remember back to the start of the series, we picked up these complete strut assemblies from the previous owner. Unfortunately, my apprentice mechanic, Joe Blow, decided to replace the torn dust boot while I wasn't around. So I don't have any footage of that install, but from what I was told, it was a pretty straightforward swap. Here you can see Joe Blow getting the top mounting nuts started to hold the strut in place. Once the strut was hanging, lining up the steering knuckle was pretty painless, and the two lower bolts slid right into place without much of a fight. This is the old front sway bar. It looks a little chewed up, but we're gonna run it anyways. With the fresh bushings installed, the bar fit much tighter than it ever did with those old cracked bushings.
Learning how to stand when the ground gives out. Getting used to quiet when the noise dies down. I can see the damage when I look around.
With the sway bar mounted, it was time to reinstall the sway bar end links. Just like the removal process, you need a hex key to keep the stud from spinning while tightening everything down. It's not difficult, just one of those jobs that would really benefit from having a ratcheting wrench.
What I know now. Find something you believe in. Find someone who will leave when everything you build starts breaking down. Find a place you can return to. Find a truth you can hold on to when the lights go out and you're lost somehow. It's love, 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 love. When everything's falling out, it's love, 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 love that pulls you back somehow. I gave all my time to the wrong mistakes. Tried to outrun fear, but it always stayed. Every open road still feels the same, but I'm learning now it's okay to change. If I could rewind the nights, I'd tell myself I
Here's a few shots of everything bolted together and starting to look like proper car suspension again.
Somehow it's love, 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 love. When everything's falling out, it's love, 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 love that pulls you back somehow. Love, when you're barely holding on.
We also pressed in new lower ball joints, but once again, Joe Blow got to it before I could grab the camera. So instead of video, here's a couple pictures of the finished result. The very last thing we had to do on our front suspension was install the outer tie rods. This was as easy as threading them onto the electronic power steering rack and attaching them to the steering knuckle. With that, the front suspension was complete. Now we're moving on to the rear suspension, and as always, the first thing to come off is the wheels. Our goal was to save ourselves some time by dropping the entire rear suspension as one complete unit instead of taking it apart piece by piece. To start, we removed the two upper strut nuts, which are hidden away in the trunk behind a healthy amount of plastic trim and carpet. As you can see in this clip, Joe Blow was in full demolition mode. We weren't planning on saving any of those plastic clips. They're cheap, they're brittle, and they were living on borrowed time anyway. With all that crap out of the way, you can finally see the tops of the rear struts and the two mounting bolts that need to be undone to get it out of the car. Next up was disconnecting the parking brake cables, so that meant we would have to tear into the rear drum brakes just a little bit. A good hammer whack allowed us to get the brake drum loose and begin unbolting the e-brake cable. After unbolting the e-brake cable, we moved our efforts over to disconnecting the brake hose from the wheel cylinder.
Say I'm good-hearted, but I'm just getting started. Got my eyes on the target. No, no. kingdom come. I'll never run. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. They'll be calling me royalty. They say I'm dangerous 'cause I broke all their cages. No, I won't sit and take it. No, no. They left me for dead, I guess I'll never learn. Every time I break, there's just more pain to burn. They'll never, never, never learn. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. I'll never run. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty.
Unfortunately, the parking brake cable is still attached to the brake shoes with a spring, so we have to unhook everything and get the cable completely out of the way.
They'll be calling me royalty. They'll be calling me royalty. They'll be calling me royalty. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. I'll never run.
Fade in, fade out, always caught up in the sound. You're up, I'm down, I kinda miss having you around. You watched me fall apart, time and time again. Couldn't lose you in the end. But if you call my name, it'll be okay. I'm never gonna leave without you. I'm never gonna leave without you. Can you hear the sound of my heartbeat now? I'm never gonna leave without you. I'm never gonna leave without you.
At this point, there were only a handful of things still holding the rear suspension into the car. We disconnected the rear camber arm, removed the lower control arm bolt, followed by the two trailing arm bolts, and finally the sway bar end link.
You got me looking on the bright side, staring into your eyes. We can make it through the night. I've been thinking about the good times, wishing we could rewind. I wanna leave it all behind. You watched me fall apart, time and time again. Couldn't lose you in the end. But if you call my name, it'll be okay. I'm never gonna
With a floor jack supporting everything underneath, we slowly lowered the entire assembly and dragged it out from under the car. Honestly, dropping the whole thing at once made the job way easier than trying to fight each piece individually. At this point in time, there were still a couple suspension components left attached to the chassis. First was the rear camber arm that we already disconnected, and finally the rear sway bar. The sway bar end links definitely didn't want to cooperate. It took plenty of patience and some finesse working the nuts back and forth before they finally gave up.
There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again. We got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong, and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.
Now we're getting into the part of this project that somehow turned into a multi-weekend adventure. We picked up the rear disc brake conversion parts from the previous owner, but the parts definitely came off a rust bucket.
Keep talking,
The biggest challenge was separating the rear knuckle from the trailing arm. You'll get a glimpse of our suffering in the next clip as Joe Blow films himself trying to remove what he described as the bolt from hell. Apologies for the vertical video, he was filming with one hand while swinging a hammer with the other. I was told this bolt took hours to remove. So Joe Blow was only able to separate one side of the suspension, so I came over and helped him with the other side. Here you'll see us attempt to cook out the bushing and use heat to loosen things up, but our torch just wasn't hot enough. You'll also notice Joe Blow's horrendous hammer accuracy. He missed the stud more often than he actually hit it, and he managed to chew up the lower control arm in the process. To make matters worse, he committed the classic rookie mistake of hammering directly on the stud without leaving the nut threaded on first. That mushroomed the end of the stud, so we ended up cutting it down multiple times just to keep working. When heat and brute force failed, we finally broke out the saw. We also tried pressing the stud out, but that wasn't much more successful. In the end, cutting it apart was really our only option. It just took forever because the blade kept overheating, and apparently the stud must have been made with the finest Japanese steel. After we wasted multiple weekends away trying to separate our suspension components, we finally had everything separated and could move on to pressing in the new bushings. Since the process is basically the same for all three bushings on each knuckle, we only filmed one of them, but you'll get the general idea. We bought some OEM Honda bushings and a press kit from Amazon to get through this part. When you're pressing in the bushings, this is one of those times where you wish you had 4 arms. Thankfully, we had tapped in another buddy to help Joe Blow along in this process. We started by using wrenches because we couldn't find a deep socket that fit our press kit. Later on, we finally tracked down the right socket and switched over to a breaker bar, which made life much easier. The hardest part of pressing in a bushing is to get it in straight. More often than not, it wants to press in cockeyed and you just kind of have to be patient. Otherwise, you could end up damaging the bushing, the press kit, or both.
Fact or fiction, you picked your poison. This mental friction, clearly it's been broken. Borderline tragic, you're so dramatic. It's automatic, you turn it on like magic. What would it take to make you feel better again? What would it take to make you feel better again? What would it take to make you feel better again? Better again. Don't deliver, truth it tastes so bitter. Walking a fine line, living a white lie. You're wasting my time, waiting for a bright side. Staring up at the ceiling, did we lose the plot? Could you interfere with the feelings? This is all we got. It should have been fucking easy, well turns out it's not. Can someone please stop the bleeding till you call the shots? So staring up at the ceiling, did we lose the plot? Could you interfere with the feelings? This is all we got. It should have been fucking easy, well turns out it's not. Can someone please stop the bleeding? Learning how to stand when the ground gives out. Getting used to quiet when the noise dies down. I can see the damage when I look around, but I'm still here breathing, so I'm here for now. If I could step outside my head and tell myself what I know now. Find something you believe in. Find someone who will leave when everything you build starts breaking down. Find a place you can return to. Find a truth you can hold on to when the lights go out and you're lost somehow. It's love, 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 love. When everything's falling in and out, it's love, love, love. I gave all my time to the wrong mistakes. Tried to outrun fear, but it always stayed. Every open road still feels the same, but I'm learning now it's okay to change. If I could rewind the nights, I'd tell myself I'll be alright. Find something you believe in. Find someone who will leave when everything you build starts breaking down. Find a place you can return to. Find a truth you can hold on to. When the lights go out and you're lost somehow, it's love, love, love.
With all the bushings installed in the knuckle, it was finally time to bolt the knuckle back onto the trailing arms. Except we encountered another problem. In the process of taking apart the suspension, we noticed our trailing arms were damaged where you would connect the knuckle. The metal was kind of bowed out and our new bushings / mounting brackets wouldn't fit. So we bought another set of trailing arms off eBay. All we had to do was move the lower control arms over to the replacement trailing arms. Since many of the original fasteners were either damaged or destroyed during disassembly, we also replaced a good number of the bolts and nuts. Here you can see all the different bolts and nuts we had to buy since we couldn't reuse much. One interesting surprise was that the lower control arm bolt uses a 10-point socket instead of the typical 6-point or 12-point. After tracking one down on Amazon, we coated the bolt with a little anti-seize before putting everything together. With all the prep work finally behind us, we could start putting the rear suspension back into the car. The first step was bolting the lower control arm assembly back to the chassis. After that, we bolt in the trailing arm mounting brackets. Before installing the rear coilovers, we adjusted the ride height using a set of coilover spanner wrenches so they'd be easier to fit into the car. Getting the upper strut mounts lined up was probably the trickiest part, but once we got the nuts started, everything else went together pretty smoothly. Lining up the strut to the trailing arm took a little finesse, but honestly, it didn't fight us as much as I thought it would. Next up was installing our upgraded rear knuckles with all the fresh bushings already pressed in. Just as a reminder, the whole point of this project was converting the rear from drum brakes to disc brakes. Since we had cut out the original hardware, we installed everything using brand new nuts and bolts. The second to last suspension component to go in was our K-tuned rear camber arm. With the suspension nearly finished, we installed the rear brake rotors and calipers.
At times you make me angry, but I know that it could always be worse, be worse, be worse. Baby, baby, now I'm trying to forget you. Baby, I know everything that was about you. No, I'm joking, I'm looking for the bathroom. Round and round, yeah, round and round we go. Picture perfect, but so many flaws that stopped you.
The very last suspension component was the rear sway bar, and that's when we realized the bushings included with our suspension kit were completely wrong. They were way too large for our factory sway bar. Since we needed new parts anyways, we decided it was the perfect excuse to upgrade the sway bar while we were at it. We picked up a sway bar from Whiteline, and this is basically the sway bar version of you versus the guy she told you not to worry about.
Didn't think you would ever believe in me. Now I see your colors, now they're in my dreams. Do I need a doctor? Do I just need sleep? Cause I've been up for almost 3 weeks. Oh, you think you got to me? All you did was use me, round and round we go. We go. Baby, baby, now I'm trying to Yeah, round and round we go. Picture perfect, but so many flaws to stop you. I don't wanna ever see you in the same room. I open up and then you hit on all my issues. Round and round we go.
Now we're snugging up the rear sway bar end links, and that officially wraps up the rear end suspension. The biggest win here is having disc brakes over drums.
Clock on the wall keeps talking. Same 3 shows we run again. Phone face down on the table.
As a little bonus item for the episode, we decided to fix the driver's side door handle. Someone had installed an aftermarket exterior door handle, but they never transferred over the lock cylinder or the interior door handle. So we tracked down the missing parts from eBay and got everything ready to install. We found it was much easier to assemble most of the handle outside of the door first, and then install it as one complete unit. Unfortunately, there isn't much good footage of the actual installation. Working inside the door cavity is already a tight squeeze, and trying to fit a camera in there at the same time wasn't exactly happening. Thankfully, it's a pretty straightforward job. There's nothing particularly difficult about it. It just takes a little patience and bending your fingers in ways that they probably shouldn't.
But it leaves under my tongue. If this is love or just a habit, tell me why it feels so young. I'm still waiting for you. Lights on, heart open, cold but the hope is golden. I'm still waiting for you. Same old song, still humming. Every little sign feels like you're coming. Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. Maybe you're out there laughing. Maybe you packed me away. But I'll give this one more evening, one more slow finish. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you.
Now, onto my favorite part, the damage. This episode definitely took a bigger bite out of the budget than the previous ones. Between rebuilding the suspension, replacing bushings, buying replacement hardware, and picking up a few tools we didn't already have, the costs added up pretty quickly. That said, I still think we did pretty well. We shopped around, reused parts where it made sense, and I don't think we overpaid for anything. Sometimes projects like this are expensive simply because there are a lot of little parts that all need attention at once. Overall, we're happy with how everything turned out. The suspension is completely refreshed, the rear disc brake conversion is finished, and we have another job crossed off the list. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.